Obamacare is hurting our economy. It's hurting middle-class families, and it's hurting the ability for employers to create more jobs. And so the House, I'm sure, at some point next year, will move to repeal Obamacare because it should be repealed and it should be replaced. How about the individual mandate? There are a lot of Democrats and Republicans who believe this is unfair. Just because we may not be able to get everything we want doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to get what we can.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you back. That, of course, John Boehner. And I've said several times that in the aftermath of the election, when they made their first press appearances, it seemed like McConnell, who went first, played good cop, and then it was followed by John Boehner, who was a little more determined, definitive, and defiant. Hey, the 3 Ds. And he was the bad cop, so to speak. But, you know, McConnell campaigned from everything I understand, on getting rid of Obamacare. You had many of them. A great piece written by David Bozell, executive director of ForAmerica, who we hope to have join us shortly. He writes that Americans just repudiated the colossal disaster that is Barack Obama. At the center of his presidency is Obamacare. McConnell knows it. That's why he campaigned so hard against the Affordable Care Act. In radio and TV ads, speech after speech, McConnell promised to repeal Obamacare. Joni Ernst also. Every single Republican senatorial candidate that won ran against Obamacare, and McConnell specifically ran on repealing it. Now, he sounded a lot more mellow after the election, which I think is unfortunate. Now David Bozell does join us. Hey, David.
Hey, Steve. How you doing, man?
Good, good. Good to see you. So, can we count on Mitch McConnell to fulfill his campaign promise? Because he sounded very conciliatory with regard to repealing Obamacare once he won, compared to running on repealing it while he was running.
You know, with Mitch, with the aspiring majority leader, you just never know. One day it's 51 votes, he'll do it. Next day it's 60 votes, and then the day after that it's back to 51 votes. It is frustrating to watch that man lead a caucus. It really, really is. He had 35,000 ads, Steve, run promising the repeal of Obamacare across the country from Republican candidates. 35,000 in just the month of October alone. You talked about Joni Ernst, you talked about Cory Gardner. If you let those guys, these fresh faces in new places, if you let them hang out to dry, and not give them an opportunity to repeal Obamacare, and not put together the game plan to get that done, you've essentially just hung them out to dry. They'll have essentially their entire campaigns will have been for naught, as far as I'm concerned. Sure, you might have the majority in numbers only, but that's all you got. You just got numbers. It is incumbent upon the Republican leadership, McConnell and Boehner specifically, that's why they are elected leaders, to put together the game plan to get this thing done. And so let's see. That'll be the most interesting story in the early part of 2015 for sure.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. Obamacare has not kicked in yet. When it does kick in, when the employer mandate kicks in, there's a story right now at CNBC.com about how the Health Policy Institute analysis found that big companies subjected to the Obamacare Cadillac tax for advanced policies will pay an average of, let's put it down per employee, $2,700 a year per employee. And that could affect payroll taxes and deductions for the average employee in those companies over $1,000 a person, not to mention the $6,000 plus deductible that they're going to get on their policy. So my point is that you might be able to get, eventually certainly, enough Democratic senators who might be up for re-election in 2016 to override or to get to the 60-vote threshold, I should say.
Well, the clip of the architect of Obamacare that's going around the internet the last couple of days, talking about how the lack of transparency was a godsend for the passage of the bill, that they did everything possible to avoid the Congressional Budget Office scoring it as a tax because they knew it couldn't pass if they did. Basically, he called the American
you're talking about Jonathan Gruber, right?
Yeah.
Who said that it was the stupidity of the Yeah, the stupidity of the American voter and the lack of transparency is the only way they could have got it passed, but it was so important to get it passed that that's what they did.
Yeah, what a jerk this guy is. And I mean, I hate to sort of put it bluntly like that, but and you're going to tell me that Mitch McConnell and John Boehner have even the slightest intentions of funding this thing after the architect has been caught on videotape calling the American voter stupid, and that they did everything they could to hide its true intentions from the American electorate? Yeah. I mean, we sent this leadership, we sent this Congress, this new Congress, to be stewards, good stewards of the taxpayers' resources. And you're going to sit around.
David, they were just handed it. They were just handed a gift. They were just handed a get-out-of-jail-free card. They were just handed the soundbite that they could back this effort up with.
Exactly. I'd play that. I'd go to the steps of Capitol Hill on January 1st and say, we're not giving another dime to this bill, and here's why. And I would put that on a big screen right on the Capitol Hill steps and just play that on a loop and just say, this is the man who wrote Obamacare, and he thinks that you're stupid, and they did everything possible to conceal its intentions. As good stewards of the taxpayers, we're not going to fund it.
David, good job. Stay on top of this, as I know you will, and keep the pressure on Senator McConnell.
Appreciate it, Steve. Appreciate it. Take care.
All right, take care. David Bozell, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we're going to come back with the editor-in-chief of the Washington Free Beacon, Matthew Continetti, after the break. But first, getting your affairs in order, as you know, can be a difficult and often complicated process, but it's something that you have to do. You know, everybody should think about this. So here is your Max to Life moment with tips for organizing your will.
You're watching Max to Life.
A will is designed to let the world know who gets your assets upon your death. But remember, once you have one, it's important to keep it up to date.
Every 2 years or so, you really should go in to review your will. Does it conform with your existing wishes? What about changes in your life? How much has your life changed over the past 2 years? Did you maybe have the birth of a loved one, marriage, divorce, or death, unfortunately? What about your financial affairs? Have they fluctuated significantly? If so, you really should update your will. At least review it every 2 years, making sure that you're in conformity with current state laws.
Making a will is especially important for people with young children because wills are the best way to transfer guardianship of minors. It's also important to review your beneficiary designations for your 401k, IRA, and life insurance policies, since those accounts will be transferred automatically to your named beneficiaries when you die. I'm Hannah Ostapchuk.
Get more lifestyle news at Newsmax.com.